What's up guys, it's Bliskin Boy here, and today we're going to be talking about Halo CE. But in a way we usually don't talk about it. You see, we're going to be talking about the multiplayer maps. Not necessarily which one is the best, plays the best, looks the best, because I feel like the answer to that is Damnation. It's really interesting visually, it's good for 8v8, it's good for free-for-all, it's good for 4v4, 2v2, 1v1, no. We're here to talk about lore. You see, in the original Halo 1, the maps would come with these little descriptions, short little sentences that gave you a little bit of an idea of the map you were about to play. Now, some of them are just really simplistic and don't really mean much, like Battle Creek, where it's just splash splash, bang bang, and I'm guessing it's there because there's a river in the middle of the map. Or there's some maps that are like a pun. For example, Chill Out, which has its description read, "Dude, you really need to, ... Some of these descriptions, however, seem to expand the lore of the Halo universe and add more of this understanding to the environments in which you're playing it, and I find that really interesting. But before we really get into that, I want to just give a shout out to a channel called The Milkman, who goes over Halo 1 map design way more often than I do, and if you're into this stuff, you should really check him out. With that being said, let's get into some of the maps I found have really interesting descriptions. Now, if there's one environment type within Halo Combat Evolved that always inspired a sense of awe and wonder into me, it's the Forerunner locations. They're so big, imposing, simplistic, minimalist, that you just have to wonder, what were these places made for? The locations really succeed in making the Forerunners feel larger than life, but you're stuck half the time looking at a lot of these structures. Not necessarily like the library, or the facility in 343 Guilty Spark, which get explained in the campaign, but the smaller locations that you usually just walk by, for example on levels like the Silent Cartographer. Like, why is this here? What is its purpose? And while there are a couple maps in Halo 1's multiplayer that have Forerunner aesthetics, there's one that stands out above them all simply because of its description. Tombstones for everyone. This is the description for Hang 'em High. Now, I never really thought much of Hang 'em High when I played on it as a kid. It's a bunch of platforms, a bunch of squares on the floor in this basic gray Forerunner facility. But that whole idea of tombstones for everyone, all of a sudden these things I'm taking cover behind take on a whole new meaning. Is this a graveyard? Is that why it's so big and sparse? Is that why there's this weird canal in the middle here? Are these different towers ways for people to, have ceremonies? Like, would a preacher or the equivalent of a Forerunner preacher sit on the top of this and, talk about the person who just died? Were these the guys that built the facility? Were these the guys that escaped, the damnation from the flood by hiding out on this facility? Like, there's so many questions that get brought up. But there's this new feeling of just desecration that I feel playing on this place. Killing other Spartans on top of the graves of, the Forerunner progenitors. It's a very interesting feeling, and again, that one little sentence brings so much life to these bland gray squares. Maybe this also explains why there's no real entrance or exit, but just this giant gaping window in the top of the building. Is this the way you would come in and out? Would you graciously take an elevator down? Would you have to fly in? It really makes me think of Forerunner technology and just how they went about something as, integral as honoring your dead. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I never really played Cryon TL34 as a kid. I would always skip over this map and spam Blood Gulch with, me and my brother. Occasionally we'd have a friend come over and do 3v3s or 4v4s. But I never really loaded up this map. So when I got older and tried it, I was like, this is pretty interesting. It's a map that you really never really saw carried over into future Halo games. Maps like Blood Gulch, Battle Creek, even Damnation showed up later on. However, Cryon TL34 is its own separate beast, chained down solely to Halo 1's existence. And the reason I'm bringing this map up today is because it's one of the few UNSC themed maps that actually seem really interesting to the game's lore. You see, at this point here, Halo 2 hadn't really happened yet, so the greater story of Halo hadn't really been written. Everything was still up in the air. So how the UNSC worked, what the Spartans were, what the Covenant was, the Forerunners, the Flood, what the hell was going on with 343 Guilty Spark, we didn't really know. Halo was defined by mystery at that point. So when I read the description, Spartan Clone Training Facility, my mind went wild thinking about what this could have been, what the Spartans are. Do the Spartans train against clones of themselves and whoever wins comes out on top? Do clones of given Spartans fight each other here to, act as battlefield simulations so you don't have to lose your actual Spartan, you just lose its clone? Like, there's so many questions. What does that mean? Spartan Clone Training Facility. Do we just clone Spartans and make more Spartans that way instead of, finding children to become super soldiers? I don't even think that part of the lore was written yet. So maybe at this point here, the Spartans were all clones. Or maybe the bulk of them were clones, or maybe because all of them got killed on Reach, which was part of the lore because that gets brought up in the instruction manual, maybe this was the way of making new Spartans after the events of Halo 1. Either way, this small gimmicky map really makes me think so much about Halo as a whole, and I think this really stands out to show the power a single sentence can have. Next up, we have a map that I did play a lot as a kid, and the real reason that I always played it was because it really interested me. Derelict is a very simple map. You have a bottom floor, you have a top floor. You have a couple teleporters that send you between each, and each floor has its own set of hallways that house their different weapons. But what makes it really interesting is that you can see out into the abyss of space. I can see the red gas giant that the Halo ring orbits. I can see other things floating out there. But I don't see the Pillar of Autumn, I don't see the Covenant fleet, and I don't see the Halo ring. So does this take place after the events? Way before the events? Is this like a Forerunner facility? Is this a Covenant one? Is this like a lost human vessel? The design of this place is very ambiguous, and its description fits into that ambiguity. Deep Space Anomaly 0198. The way this is written makes me think that the UNSC discovered this. They don't know what it is or who made it. It's just floating out there, where Installation 04 will be or was. There's so many questions to ask, but that tranquil yet eerie sense of being in this weird unknown thing out in space that doesn't have the comforts of nature like a Halo ring really just kind of brings a whole new kind of mysterious vibe to the game. And it's such a simple little map, so for it to have this much power with so little information given to us shows just how the maps in Halo C really had that pull on you to bring you into this new world, not by telling you everything about it, but by giving you just enough hints for you to piece stuff together. If anything, it reminds me of the original Dark Souls. A lot of people, I didn't play Dark Souls till I was much older, but a lot of people, when they describe the lore or their discovery in it, it always takes me back to how I would feel exploring Halo 1, and Derelict was definitely one of those areas worth exploring. But now I have saved the best for last. Now you remember how I said Damnation looked the best and played the best? Well, it also has the best lore. At this point here, especially if you've played the campaign, you know the Covenant, you know the Grunts, you know the Elites, you know the Jackals, you know the Hunters, you know their different subclasses, you know their behaviors, you know how they fight, but you don't know how they live outside of war. So when I read Covenant Hydro Processing Plant, all of a sudden, that makes my imagination once again run wild. So this is where they process their water. So this confirms they drink water. So they must have a life somewhat similar to ours outside of this whole war going on. You walk around and you try to look outside the little slits of this facility and you can see some greenery. Is this on a Covenant planet? Is this on a portion of the Halo ring that they've just colonized? It's hard to tell. All of a sudden, the giant waterfalls make sense. All of these little weird kind of buttons and facilities and these little caskets that you sometimes see around the campaign. Is this like a Covenant computer? Is this just how they control their facilities? You walk around a little bit and you notice there's some like flood-like sludge dripping from one of the pipes. Is this facility contaminated? Are they all gonna get like infected with the flood? There's so much going on here. And it has that unique Covenant aesthetic that you feel when you go through Truth and Reconciliation. However, here, it's so much more brighter and more inviting. Like it's not a warship, but something where whatever the civilian equivalent is for your Grunts, your Jackals, your Elites, and your Hunters, this seems like where they would be. And just trying to picture that functioning and seeing the darker implications of what's going on here and trying to piece together where exactly this is so much fun. Anyways guys, this has been Pliskin. I just wanted to do this video for a long time. Honestly, watching the Milkman's content inspired me to finally get off my ass and actually make a video about Halo's maps. Please check them out. And if you have any stories with multiplayer games that you would play as a kid and explore the empty maps that are usually filled with other players trying to kill you, but you just took the time to explore the empty, sometimes even creepy, if not beautiful, vistas and settings that you would play in, and found little secrets or learned more about the world of your game, please let me know down in the comments below, because doing this as a kid was really a core memory for me. So if any of you guys have gone through something similar, I really want to hear it, because I remember vividly how beautiful this feeling of discovery and exploration mixed in with childlike wonder was. So anyways, this has been Pliskin. I promise the next video will be Metal Gear related. Over and out.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.